Many stars in Hollywood are loved and hated. Some are remembered for their colorful roles that stick in your memory for years to come, while others create an entire community of haters through their acting. And then there's Kurt Russell, an actor who is well liked by everyone and doesn't have any haters. Despite his relaxed approach to acting, Kurt Russell has had a successful career. His carefree attitude has even contributed to his success. Unlike many method actors, he never aimed to be a major celebrity and views acting more as a hobby than a job. In this video, I would like to understand what happened to Kurt Russell and why he could not become a Category A star. Many people may think that Kurt Russell's career started somewhere in the late 70s, but Kurt was a big Disney star in the late 60s. The actor was trendy on TV, noticed there, and at some point, he became almost a major Disney star. There is still an urban legend about Walt Disney. Before he died, the last words he wrote were Kurt Russell. Why he did it and what it means no one knows until now. Earlier, it was Walt Disney that signed a 10-year contract with Kurt. And by 30, the actor had become hostage to his image. He was invited for roles in family movies and realized that his career would be in jeopardy if this continued. Russell was looking for roles in action, thriller, and dramas, and that opportunity came to him in 1981. He finally played the role of a tough guy with a gun. The script for Escape from New York, directed by John Carpenter, wrote in the mid-70s, but all the studios refused. That all changed after the success of Halloween in 1978. A unique film in its success. It was shot in 20 days and spent just over $300,000 on its production. And at the worldwide box office, the picture grossed $60 million. After such a return on investment, all the studios wanted to work with the director. But Escape from New York director shot in collaboration with several small independent studios. The owners of these studios dissuaded them from taking the lead role of Kurt, doubting that the film fits the guy from a Disney studio. But the director was confident in his decision, and Kurt was approved for the lead role. Russell worked enthusiastically on the role, and many of his ideas were realized. The eye patch was his idea. The actor completely remade the character of the main character and played him borrowing something from Clint Eastwood. In 1981, the film hit the United States box office on a budget of $6 million and earned $25 million in box office receipts, which for an independent project is a perfect result. Critics praised the adult Kurt Russell, but the actor decided he was on the right track and signed on for the thing. Russell played a tough-as-nails helicopter pilot stationed at an American Antarctic research station. The thing featured what was, at the time, state-of-the-art special effects. The physical results were heavy on slime and gore, which put off many critics. Reviews were mixed, and the film disappointed at the box office. One theory for the film's weak box office performance is that it was released shortly after The Extraterrestrial. Immediately afterwards, Russell had success with the film Silkwood. He received his first and only career Golden Globe nomination for his role in this film. But the leading role in this film was played by Meryl Streep, who got the bulk of the awards and popularity. Next, Kurt Russell signed on for Swing Shift with Goldie Hawn, with whom he was already in a relationship at the time. Although the critics well received the film, it did not sell and failed at the box office. Later, he failed with two more films in a row, The Mean Season and The Best of Times. And in general, the whole end of the 80s for the actor was a bad time. Films failed one after another, and in general, the 80s ended with the resounding failure of Tango and Cash. Russell and Stallone played cops who didn't get along. Tango and Cash emerged when Stallone tried to grow beyond his Rambo image. Little by little, he tried to introduce more comedy to his films. In theory, Russell was cast for his ability to do action and comedy, but that helps to illustrate another problem with Russell's career. He was a comedic actor who wasn't funny and an action star who wasn't incredibly macho. Reviews were mostly negative, and the film disappointed at the box office. The film was nominated for several Golden Raspberry Awards, but as you know, Rough Patch Pass in the 90s were the best time in the actor's career. Thanks to several successes at the box office, he received up to $15 million per role by the end of the 90s. The beginning of the ascent can be considered a drama by Ron Howard's Backdraft. Kurt, in addition to starring in the film, also made the list of stuntmen for the film. The stunt coordinator was so impressed by the work of several of the actors that he insisted on including them in the end credits. The figures for the budget of this film varies greatly, where it can be seen in the figures 40 million and somewhere in the 75. But so the careers of all the actors and the director went up. 40 million is a more true figure. Also, in '92, the box office hit a movie that made Kurt Russell a big star and started the growth of his royalties. That film was a thriller, Unlawful Entry. Kevin Costner and Jeff Bridges were cast in the lead role before Kurt. Few people believed in the success of this film, but at the end of the American box office, Unlawful Entry earned an impressive 57 million. And immediately after, Russell decided to test himself on the Western Tombstone. In this project, Kurt was the big star, and the only reason the project was done in general was that Dances with Wolves breathed new life into the genre. But the filmmakers were convinced that any Western in the 90s would bring a huge profit. They only thought about casting Russell and Kilmer, who had failed in 90% of their films before. Also, with the choice of director, they did not guess. According to Russell, he ended up directing Tombstone, but the studio heads wouldn't trust him with first-time director duties. So he was forced to hire George Cosmatos to handle the film officially. Cosmatos came recommended to Russell by Sylvester Stallone, who had hired him to ghost direct Rambo 2. Russell claims he promised to keep his directing duties a secret while Cosmatos was alive. After Cosmatos' death, Russell took credit for directing Tombstone. Kurt Russell's career was only going up, and he got $7 million for his next film Stargate and $10 million for Escape from Melee. If Stargate could make money at the box office, Escape from Melee failed without a chance. The 50 million projects could only make it to the big screens because of the new Kurt Russell's new star status. But director John Carpenter repeatedly said that he didn't like the film's original script, and that although it was rewritten several times, it still didn't satisfy the director. Kurt Russell met in 1997 with another record. He received $15 million for Breakdown. Although the picture has good ratings from the audience, it also went through fire and water on its way to the screens. The entire year the film was rejected by all whom the studios approached with a proposal to play the leading role. Bruce Willis, Mel Gibson, and Dennis Quaid refused to participate in the project, and for $15 million agreed, only Kurt Russell. However, the timing of the film has been shortened after the test screenings. But this did not help. 36 million box office pictures could collect only 50 million, which is generally a failure. And following it, Kurt received the most high-profile failure of his career, the action film Soldier. In the loss of this movie, our hero is also to blame. He spent too much time in the gym and pre-production, and it all dragged on for a year, so the location were not available for filming, and the film had to be shot entirely in pavilions. For this role, he received 15 million. A 60 million worldwide box office project turned only 17, and that's where the stellar career of Kurt Russell ended. After Soldier, Kurt took a break for a couple of years to decide on the next direction of his career. As a supporting actor, he came back at the beginning of the noughties. The leading roles he played were only in small films. With expensive films, it was even worse. If Kurt appeared somewhere in the background, it was a disaster. Only Tom Cruise and Vanilla Sky could avoid it. The rest of the Russell Poseidon, Dreamer, and Grindhouse films continued to flop at the box office. All of this led the actor to take another break in his career from 2007 to 2012. In 2013, it almost happened to leave for B. The actor appeared in The Art of the Steal, but Kurt didn't like the prospect of becoming Eric Roberts and took another break. After this, he returned in 2015 and immediately appeared in big projects like Fast and Furious and The Hateful Eight. And in general, the actor has already retired and starred in episodic roles to remind himself once again. Throughout his career, Russell faced several challenges. Like any child actor, he worked to be taken seriously as an adult. On top of that, Russell had the stigma of being a Disney kid during one of Disney's least cool decades. Russell was surprisingly successful at overcoming these obstacles. But even as an adult, Russell struggled with an identity crisis. But unfortunately, in his entire career, there has never been a big hit starring Russell.